What's up, everybody? On today's video, we're going to show you guys the worst hoods of Toronto, Canada. As you can see, there's a guy right here to the left of me begging for money. I did some research to see where the worst hoods in Toronto were, and we went to all the places that were supposed to be the worst parts of Toronto, and they honestly did not look that bad. But in this particular suburb that we're in right now, there's a lot of homelessness. Just kind of like the most run-down parts of Toronto. But even in the United States, I have found that many times, like, the real hoods, the real spots that are the real hoods are not the spots that you're gonna find on the internet telling you that they're the hoods. They're kind of like suburban areas that have got a little bit more run down. Now, you also have to understand that the top 3 most dangerous cities in Canada would be in the top 10 safest cities in the United States. So it's really kind of subjective when we say worst hoods in Toronto. 10 million people in this metropolitan area, and with 10 million people, there have to be some grimy spots. I don't care how nice the city is. With 10 million people living in Toronto, you're going to have grimy spots, and this is going to be one of them. That in a metropolitan area of 10 million people, you're not going to have some grimy hoods. You're going to have them. And sometimes I found that those grimy hoods in areas that are not that bad can actually be pretty bad, because for some reason, you know, they're more controlled, I think. Like, I found cities like that are like kind of more controlled, like Charlotte and Miami, where there's a little bit more control, will have, you know, less crime, but more tendency of people to react. So it's just because the city as a whole is very safe, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have very reactive neighborhoods. Action, undoubtedly. And like I've said, for the most part, when a city is predominantly very safe, I have found that the neighborhoods that are bad can be somewhat more reactive. Not sure why. I think it's just because they're better controlled cities, so anything that's an abnormality has to get handled. At least that's what I've seen in other cities like Charlotte, where, if you guys watch my channel, some of the scariest things that we've had happen to us traveling across North America and looking at hoods throughout North America, some of the worst things that have happened to us have actually been in pretty like normal looking neighborhood. That's just my personal opinion. I really don't know how to explain it. That's just my personal opinion. That really doesn't have any real bearings. That's my opinion. Can't really prove it. But this is on the far north outskirts of Toronto. There's a lot of Ukrainians here. There's a lot of Afro Canadians. There's a lot of bicycles out front. Easy way to get scammed is like that. Most scams actually rely on you trusting the person because they made you feel comfortable somehow, maybe at a hotel lobby. And I'm gonna make a video about how I almost got scammed in. I got very close to getting scammed. Good thing my senses kicked in last minute. But me and Kitty talked about what happened. We're gonna reconfigure our approach, because we got very close to getting scammed. We got too close to getting scammed on this trip here in Toronto, and I feel stupid for it. I really do. But it's like you tend to just let your guard down. You know, you really tend to let your guard down because the area, quote unquote, appears to be safer, right? And they just assume because they stayed in the most expensive hotel that a city has to offer, that in itself makes for their safety. And I've even found that to be kind of false. I've even found that to be a little false. Like, that you just assume, oh, if I stay in the most expensive hotel in the city, nothing's gonna happen. Well, that's kind of the atmosphere that scammers look for. So here in Toronto, it's like you're not gonna get like robbed, or like, you know, it's not like that type of crime here. But it's more like finesse. It's more like scams. So you just gotta be alert, really. I think it's beautiful that Toronto is a very diverse city. The scams are all kind of the same, and it's all the same type of crap. You know, different places, same scams, same type of crap. But anyways, if you kind of want to watch out for scams here. Is what I feel like as a tourist is the real thing you want to watch out for are scams more than actual street violence. But as a tourist, you're always afraid of the street violence, and you actually kind of play a perfect victim card by having that type of mentality. You know, by being afraid of the street violence, you kind of almost put yourself in situations where scammers can catch you. You know, your hotels, who knows. But this is a corner store here, like you would see in the United States or anywhere, anywhere in a bad neighborhood in America. This neighborhood here would kind of fit the profile of a bad neighborhood even in the United States. This neighborhood here has the stamp of a bad neighborhood even in the United States, you know. So even though it's the springtime, last night it got into the 40s here. That was uncomfortably cold for me being from Florida. And that's happened with a lot of cities now. Now a lot of the areas that used to be suburban are actually now kind of the hood, as you kind of, you know, make the city more expensive. You know, further out spots get cheaper, so a lot of suburban spots are turning hood. It's happening in a lot of cities. Louisville, Kentucky's got that going on right now. Miami's got that going on right now. The worst parts of metro areas because housing costs. These apartments in here look pretty rough. Some of these are boarded up. The garages are boarded up on a lot of these. But you can pretty much infer that with close to 10 million people in this metro area, that this has to be one of the best places in the world to live, because, you know, the percentage of people living in poverty here and the you know, communities that are completely burnt to crap out, or just very few people are really living in poverty here. At least extreme dangerous poverty, which is like some of the most dangerous cities are actually along the Canada border. Kind of an embarrassment if you think about it. Okay, so this car just pulled up. We gotta be careful here too. It's like a dead end here. And I don't know if this is an undercover cop or somebody who's just. Every city you go to, you gotta be real careful. Again, don't ever assume that because the city's less, you know, whatever. You get the point. Check out this car right here. That's pretty cool. Kind of like a sports tuner. I haven't seen too many car modifications here in Canada. It seems like people here aren't that big on fixing up cars and tuning them up and all that, where in the United States and poor neighborhoods particularly, you see a lot of that. I just find it kind of interesting that the United States, being a more developed country, has so many more neighborhoods and areas that are sketchy. You take Detroit, for example. But anyways, being from the United States, from my perspective, this area of Toronto seems like the sketchiest part that I've seen. Although you can quite literally find trouble anywhere if you're looking for it. I believe in that too. I believe in, even in like nice, rich suburban areas, you can find trouble if that's what you're looking for. You know, if trouble is what you're looking for, you will find it regardless. You're more likely to get followed in like a safe city than you are in a dangerous city, because in a dangerous city, if somebody's gonna do something, like in a Detroit or St. Louis, it's just crap just pops off. There's no. Anyways, I found that in the United States, you can run into more crap in like square cities than you will in dangerous cities. Because in the real dangerous cities in the United States, bro, like if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. There ain't gonna be. You're not gonna give the other person a warning that you're gonna do it either. You're gonna expect them to pop back at you. So, like in the United States, like for the most part, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, and that's it. There's no like the really, really bad places in the United States, like you're not gonna get a warning because the other person's gonna pop back at you. So like, I've actually been in situations like I was in a situation in Charlotte, North Carolina, where somebody ran up on me, and I knew they were gonna run up on me, and I already started making evasive maneuvers before they ran up onto me because I knew they were gonna go with it. And sure enough, they ran with it. So like, if you're like in one of those cities, like, or a spot that's like really hot in the United States, you know if you're gonna get ran up on before they do it. You're already reacting, either to flee or to react back. But then like in areas that are safer, people don't really perceive the danger. So what I found in the United States is like areas that allegedly are supposed to be safer, people don't perceive the danger, so they do stupider stuff to aggravate people, and then it does lead to crap. Where in like the absolute worst cities, nobody's on that. Like, let's say you're in Birmingham, Alabama, or Montgomery. Like, I lived in Montgomery. I lived between Montgomery and Birmingham. Birmingham's possibly one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. I also lived in Louisville, which is pretty bad as well. And at least in Birmingham, bro, ain't nobody acting a fool in traffic or road raging people, because you can pretty much guess at what's going to happen if you do start an aggravation with somebody. But like in places that are a little bit more squared up, people will actually like argue with people and try to act like they're tough, or road rage people. Like that's the type of stuff you see in soft places. But like I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery. You ain't gonna go up in there road raging anybody. You got to be out of your mind, because you know how it's gonna end. Like, you know how road rage somebody in Birmingham, Alabama is going to end up, so you're not going to do it. Like, you're going to be super polite, excuse me, I'm sorry, all that good stuff, Because at the end of the day, you know how it's going to end. I'm going to just back up out of here. I like this vibe here. You get the idea. You get the idea. Okay. Well, anyways, one of the people that would come up, a customer that would go to my aunt's house where I was staying, dude had the tattoos, but he also had stab wounds everywhere. Dude was like sliced up. Like, you could tell this dude had been through a thing or two in his lifetime. And it's like whatever, like in Cuba, with the type of government they got, if you get tatted up, you know what the deal is. You're marked by the government, They don't play that crap over there. There's no PC warriors over there. It's real. But dude was all tatted up. I'm talking, this dude was seriously, but despite the fact that he was a very, like, you could just see him, see the tattoo, see the stabs all over the body. Despite all that going on, dude was like, yes sir, yes ma'am, very respectful. Excuse me, I'm sorry, could I please? And I asked the dude, I was like, hey bro, obviously everybody's terrified of you in this neighborhood. Okay, break the, there's people just hanging out here, dude. You know what's up, behind the corner and everything. There's little spots around me, like there's a bunch of homeless people hanging out here. I'm actually gonna swing around, kind of a dangerous thing to do, but I'm actually gonna do it. Is this one way? Going that way, okay. One way going that way. Okay, this is the first time I've seen police signs out here. I know in the United States you record cops and all that. I'm not gonna do that garbage here in Canada. This ain't my country. I can't be acting a fool. But I can tell you, I'm acting like a fool just by how I'm driving, to be honest. Alright. I'm gonna get up over here real quick. I'll just stop right here for a minute. You're just a respected guy in this neighborhood. I mean, people are pretty much terrified of you, right? Why, if you're so, imposing of a figure here in this neighborhood, why be so respectful? He said, well, I'm pretty much like a target here, I'm pretty much a target here. And if anybody is able to whack me, I'm like a trophy. A little nervous, not in my country. First time doing videos outside of the United States is a little nerve-wracking. So like I said, I told the dude, like, hey dude, like, you got tattoos, head to toe covered in tattoos. you're obviously a very intimidating dude. Like, why be so respectful? Like, people are terrified of you. He says, well, he said, any person that takes me out is gonna get a lot of respect in this neighborhood. And I clicked in my head. I said, yep. You know, once you're all tatted up and you're the neighborhood black guy, somebody takes you out, you're like a trophy. So you want to really avoid problems once you're at that level of street respect, you know. And a lot of countries that are really dangerous are like that too. I've noticed in Colombia, a lot of my friends from Colombia, I had a friend from Colombia, I was like, dude, yes please, yes sir, whatever, all that. I'm like, why so much etiquette? And he basically said, hey, in Colombia, you know, if you even look at somebody the wrong way, there's no telling what it could lead to. You know, just looking at somebody the wrong way could be a problem. What I find kind of odd about this neighborhood is how all the lights are turned off. And I think I know why they're turned off, and I don't like that. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I don't like this neighborhood. The fact that everybody's lights are turned off, to me, I don't like that at all. I think I know why they're turned off, and I don't like it. If you've lived in the hood, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't like the fact that everybody's lights are turned off in this neighborhood. It makes me really nervous. Really makes me nervous. I don't like that at all. Like, all these houses, like, most of the lights are turned off. They might have a light on the outside, but there's no lights into the inside of the houses. There's bright lights on. So if you pay really close attention, there's street lights and there's outside lights, but there's no lights on inside the houses. And if they're on, they're very, very shadowy. And I really don't like that it's so shadowy like that. It makes me feel really uncomfortable. Not sure if it's like that in Canada, but I really don't like that. And all through, and like when this little neighborhood here, I was like, I'm gonna come back here at night because it kind of looks, it has that bad neighborhood look to it, you know. And it's the only place that I've really seen beggars other than right in downtown. Like right in downtown Toronto, I saw people begging. But as far as like regular neighborhoods, I didn't really see any of the regular neighborhoods having like beggars and people out like that. So I feel like this neighborhood at least had a lot of beggars from what I could tell. And it's just like vagrant people carrying bags and stuff. Like you can tell, like some people might just be carrying their bag, like their groceries home, but there were a lot of like people kind of vagrantly hanging around. So I figured this might be it. Again, if there's a particular part of Toronto that you think I should check out next time I'm in Toronto, just comment. And next time I'm in Toronto, if the video is too good, I'll be back. There's no doubt about that. If the video is too good, I'll come back. That's for sure. Like, that's one thing about my channel. Like, if I go to a city and it does good, I'll be back. But even this neighborhood here, like, it even looks and feels like cities in the United States. Like, what's kind of odd about this little area here is it even looks and kind of feels like cities in the United States. Kind of has a, like, Cleveland, Ohio, Louisville type of vibe to it. You know? It has that, like, Midwestern hood vibe in the United States. Where, like, the other hoods that I saw in Toronto, they have, like, a more of a New York City vibe to them. But yeah, like, don't ever assume that a city like Toronto, just because overall it's safe, that you can let your guard down. I mean, like, anywhere you go, you got to use common sense. And I feel like a lot of times people in Canada, like, kind of resent the United States when it comes to the hood stuff, because, like, the United States has that infamous, you know, reputation. And then, like, Toronto, most of it being pretty safe and all that, the areas in Toronto that are kind of the worst kind of a struggle to acquire a reputation. And not that you want that. At the end of the day, like, you kind of don't want that. You really don't. So, like, social media has brought a lot of the garbage mentalities of the United States to places like England and Canada. And now, like, the youth in, like, these places like Canada and England, the youth here now is almost trying to, like, imitate American culture, which has kind of led to, you know, people like in England, Ireland, Canada wanting to, like, be this American gangster persona, you know. And in reality, you know, the social media has really played a very negative role in spreading, like, that ideology to other countries, and you know. And now you have guys in, like, Canada and Ireland and England, countries that are safer, kind of wanting to be like this American gangster. And it's sad that the social media portrays that and promotes that to people, because overall it really isn't something you want to be, and it only leads in two directions. And
head south. Keep left at the fork.
see, there's like a lot of homeless people right here by the interstate, or they don't call them interstate here, they call them highways or whatever.